Alright guys, here it is. A 1998 Honda VFR Interceptor 800FI. I'll tell you what, it's been a long journey with this bike. Now I did, of course, not cheap out on a motorcycle at this age. But it is fuel injected, so tank was clean. Just put good gas in it. Do all the solid, maintenance that's necessary on these older bikes. Especially after close to a decade, there was quite a bit of stuff, but I'll just point out some of like the major crap that really grind my gears, I guess, that really needed to be replaced, which would be there was a jacked up rear caliper, and this bike has dual linked brakes, so still has it dual linked, so just had to fix that up. That was a major thing when I first bought it. It was literally just like a few grand of a bigger displacement bike when I upgraded my 250. It's great to think about that. It didn't really need that much. Oh yeah, and the clutch also had like to be replaced because it was like probably the most obvious slippage, going over 80, 60, or high RPM. But that, the clutch burned out over the years. The other thing that I think I probably should have replaced sooner on this bike was the fuel, or like not the fuel, but like the vacuum hoses. That probably added like a solid 50 horsepower, 20 horsepower on this fucking bike. Other than that, just solid chains, sprockets, fluids, oil changes. I think, liquid moly is probably the best one. Recently I used liquid moly and it's absolutely beautiful how it feels now. I'll just say that. Let's see, I've gone through a few sets of tires, I think. Mostly because I've gotten mainly flat tires on this, bikes. I've only gotten flats on freaking bikes, so hey, you pay to play, and I paid for some tires, unfortunately. So yeah, that's as far as like the maintenance goes. As you can see, like it just runs like a top. Unfortunately, the next big major thing that happened was the LCD cluster blowout. I've already gotten it diagnosed, and it's pretty much the whole screen. It's pretty much gonna have to be a used unit somehow, but for the time being, I did recently purchase like a trail tech sensor for coolant temps. So it's around 80 to 70,000 miles, potentially reaching 90,000 miles. So this is a high mileage VFR. Majority of it has been highway miles, so that means it's not completely, road use, solid road use, but that's still pretty damn high. And I've heard people talk about like maybe like the thermostat going out eventually, so that's why I was like, man, I gotta freaking. I have not done that. I've only done the liquid stuff, the oils and stuff. So yeah, it has nice grip bars, all that crap. My only gripe with it now at this stage is that I really obviously like I really appreciate like the format, or like the fit and finish of the VFR. This VFR model, first gen, obviously has the good engine on it, timing gears and stuff like that. But yeah, like the clutch is like not that hard. It has a hydraulic clutch. Sometimes only on one occasion after like 7 years, air got into it, and it just felt like it was activating too soon. But had to bleed it, give it a new line, and that's pretty much all that's necessary to do on it, because it's never probably changed the whole time. But the same brake lines, all that still work. Brakes have never gotten air in them. Just an absolute solid bike. I mean, if you end up finding one for a good deal, then definitely recommend it, because if you find one for like 20k miles, and you'll definitely get a lot of life out of it. Maybe some of the trials and tribulations of the regulator rectifier might haunt you, but you definitely can fix that. Because I recently purchased a an 01 Suzuki Gixxer 600, and that's at this level of like this type of bike, man, it feels like a downgrade. But once you hit the top end, you definitely feel the 600 is stronger, much more lighter. Which over the years, I feel like the weight has just been like a big con for me. Because the 250, I remember that thing was like absolutely like fun in the city, like just roll around in. So I just prefer like a lighter bike, maybe something just semi in the middle, like maybe 450 to like 500. But the Gixxer I have now is kind of like a lighter, a little bit lighter. It's probably like 120 pounds lighter than this bike, 150 maybe even. So it could be a little bit heavier, but when you talk about like older sport touring bikes, they're just this is one of the lighter variations you can get, obviously. Yeah, and I did take a few good trips on this bike. I went already to Big Bear and San Francisco from southern LA. So it's absolutely a solid bike. Now one of the upgrades I do, if I'm going to keep it, like, you know, 7 more years or whatever the case is, I won't bash on it too much, but the good things about this bike, because I'm in Southern California, is obviously like, you get obviously cheaper insurance. It's probably pretty much old ass bike. Now the interesting thing about the VFR is that insurance doesn't count it as like a super sport bike. Even though, as you can see here in the video, I'm hitting like, top speed is like, you know, 150 on this bike. Theoretically, if I'm doing like one, I also know like my tachometer is not accurate. So that's probably like way higher than it should be because the sprocket's different. But theoretically, if I can like hit, you know, enough to go on the highway, it's perfectly fine of a bike to use as a sport bike, you know, and it's a bit more comfortable. As I said, like the Gixxer in comparison, it's no one Gixxer, but the clutch is so much smoother. Suspension probably is old, but it still feels better than, well, now the rear shock is the biggest difference in my opinion. The rear shock is just a lot more customizable, I think, on a Gixxer, but this one has like a adjuster as well, apart from preload, so that helped out. I think I might bump it down a bit softer, but other than that, when I'm carrying like heavy stuff, it's been pretty solid. I like a little bit stiffer spring and stuff like that, but no, it's been solid. But yeah, obviously you don't have to get it inspected and smog and all that crap, so I don't know, I might keep it. It might still get 30 miles per gallon, 40 miles per gallon. I think 30 miles per gallon because we can lane filter here. That's the only reason I think why it gets pretty low miles per gallon here. Highway, I think it's actually going, you know, +5, +10, plus a bit more. You know, if you go hour long highway hill riding, you know. But yeah, beautiful bike. Let me know what you guys think about it. 2024 1998 VFR. It's still absolutely solid. Daily, and it's daily, every week, every single week I've ridden this thing. Alright, one last few comments to talk about. So I didn't talk about like the body. As you can see, like the body is pretty much like, you know, garbage. It's missing pretty much only screws. I mean, it's not the hardest thing to fix, but if I put some time and effort, I can obviously like restore the fairings. But if I go on like eBay, it costs like $500 or something like that to get it all changed out. Obviously the tank is still metal, so you'd have to paint it, get it all worked out. So I'm kind of in the spectrum of decision of fixing the body or like doing something with the body, but also the rims are original. The exhaust is the Kelvin exhaust, which is just a slip-on. It still has the original headers, and also it also has a power commander, which actually I did that before the vacuum hoses were fixed, and interestingly enough, it still felt perfectly fine. So apart from that, everything else is pretty much stock on the bike. And yeah, I really would like a different seat though. I feel like the seat that it has on right now is not quite as soft as I'd like it to be. It could be better.